I'm Camille Zombro. I'm vice president now of the San Diego, I can't reach that microphone, so we're going to have to this one. Vice president now of the San Diego Education Association and past president of SDEA. We are the teachers union representing the over 8,000 teachers, nurses, counselors, and other education support workers in San Diego Unified School District. There are, let's see now, 5 other unions representing classified workers, administrators, and police officers in San Diego Unified. We are the second largest affiliate of the California Teachers Association and one of the top 15 in the National Education Association, just so that you know. We're also one of the largest NEA affiliates that joined AFL-CIO and our local labor council. And we joined because we wanted to join this labor council. So we got some blowback from our folks on having AFL-CIO, which I love, emblazoned after our name now. But it goes back to all union power is built at the local level. To address, I want to tell you just sort of a little bit about our union and our perspective before getting to kind of the specific issues about bringing more women into positions of leadership. Like Lorena, I'm the first person of color to serve as president of our local. We've been around since 1918. And I'm the first woman in over 20 years at the time that I served, and one of only 3 women since the 70s. Our very first president in 1918 was a woman, but somehow once we got to collective bargaining, it's been mostly dudes. So I don't know. But that said, our profession is over 80% women. So that has never really made sense to me. But I think it goes to sort of a cultural thing that's happened in education unions. And Kelly kind of made the point that I was going to make, which is that this attack that's happening on public sector workers is, the leading edge of that is an attack on women. And perhaps that's because they think that women, that teachers, are maybe easier targets than the guy public sector professions, like public safety officers and firefighters. At the end of the day, I think all of our professions are pretty equally well respected. But they picked the wrong fight, because we got a lot of angry women out there, and they're joined by a lot of angry men. Our perspective in terms of union, I'll just use a sort of analogy and then talk about what we're trying to do as an organization to strengthen our portion of the labor movement. Everyone talks about business agent unions and business unions, and if you're at a labor notes conference, you hate them, right? Because business unions really just, enforce contracts and don't do anything in terms of social justice unionism or any of the sort of, dealing with the rest of the labor movement or, the impact of ourselves as workers, as, people of the world. And then there's kind of activist unions that are out there that will, do rallies and these sorts of things, but don't actually do the day-to-day grind. And then there's a third, which is organizing unions, and that's sort of what we have been working towards being as an organization. So, for example, we've done a lot of work to try to dismantle much of what once existed in our union, all these sort of committees and folks that would come down to the union hall, and instead put all of our work back out into school sites. And so, for example, just by way of example, we had one school where there was a grievance over this new contract language about evaluations, and the principal unilaterally decided that, nope, she wasn't going to honor it for anyone. So they didn't. Now, normally in a business union, you just file a grievance and it goes through a bureaucratic process. But what we've been doing is that whole staff came together, and they talked about how this was important to all of them, whether this language affected them or not. They talked about the importance of protecting this language in terms of just the contract as a whole across the district. And they organized, and so they went to their level 1 grievance with 25 people, all wearing their red SDEA shirts. And every step of the way, they've been organizing around what was once treated as sort of a small technical exercise of dealing with the grievance. That's the kind of union we're trying to build, because at the end of the day, I think what's most difficult for workers in terms of exercising our rights, and remember, as a teachers union, we're bargaining for class size. I mean, that's absolutely about kids. We're bargaining about, whether or not there are nurses and counselors to provide support services. I mean, these are very, very basic things, and they're things that are absolutely about children. But what we found is that over time, that while folks are really willing to get out there when there's like a big action feels good. But it's not personal, and it's, hi, buddy, how you doing? There's our brother from UTLA. Josh is here. Sorry. So don't correct me when I screw anything up, okay, brother?
He speaks later, too.
Yes, okay, good. All right, he's on the dude panel, I'm sure. Just kidding. I love my brother there. Now you made me lose my train of thought, so I see my buddy from UTLA. Who was I? Personal, oh yeah, so folks, what we've gotten to is that folks can't deal with conflict in the workplace. You know, and I read, if you've seen, Steve Early has this really great book, Embedded with Organized Labor, and it's just a collection of his pieces. And the point he makes again and again and again is that union power is built on the shop floor, right? And that it's the day-to-day personal interactions. When you can get a kindergarten teacher to put on a red shirt and stand in front of the boss and say, no, you won't violate my contract, that's how you build union power. And that kind of union power on the ground is what our union is trying to build. And so we haven't, now we're getting there, where you're seeing us out in bigger numbers. We had really big numbers at the Wisconsin rallies. So we're getting there where you're seeing more of our teachers out. But what we've understood as a union, that is until, you know, a kindergarten teacher or a ninth grade English teacher or a school nurse can sit in front of the boss and say, no, you will respect my rights, you will respect my students, and you won't do this, then we're not really in a place to fight back on what's happening in Wisconsin. And I would argue that that's about 4 years away from California. So either we figure out right now how to build that level of internal courage in our membership on the ground first and build our way up, or we're not going to be ready when it comes to our door. So in terms of, you know, our local, what I found in the past, and it always bugged me, because my successor, who you'll meet if you go to the People of Color leaders in the afternoon, Bill Freeman, is our first African-American president. And he is our president because he kicks ass. He was a 2009 district-wide Teacher of the Year. He's an incredible person with this incredible background, overcome a lot of challenges in his life. He's inspirational, and he's a wonderful person. And in the past in our union, you could see a bargaining team lined up, and then here's the token African American, and here's the token woman. And that's what we did as a union, was that we tokenized women, we tokenized people of color, rather than figuring out how to get out and work on the issues that women and people of color care about, and building a union out of those issues. So, so I guess that's sort of, you know, in terms of how do we recruit more women? We work on the issues that our teachers, our nurses, and our counselors care about. When you work on those issues, the leaders rise up from those issues. The leaders rise up from their coworkers. So that's kind of my thing, is that if we're doing our part, if we're working on patient care standards, if we're working on the, you know, the issues that hotel workers and all the different folks that Lorena works with, if we're working on what the people on the ground, the kindergarten teacher will stand up and wear a red shirt in front of their boss about, that's how we're going to build union power, and that's how we're going to stand up to the attack that's ultimately on women in the public sector.
Yeah.
Thank you.